The Blackhawks would get Mangiapane and a first-round pick in 2027. That's protected. That's a crazy good deal. So it's been a few hours, but this Mackenzie Weegar and Utah Mammoth trade is not confirmed yet. Sure, we have had some details being tossed out there over the past few hours or so. Ole Mata going over to Utah for Weegar. We're taking a look at some other prospects and some other picks going to Calgary as well. But in the midst of this Weegar to Utah trade conversation, we had ourselves another trade that ended up going down in the midst of that. We have a trade to announce, a pending trade, courtesy of Frank Saravalli. Another deal is pending with the player waiving his no-trade clause. Here is the framework of what's been discussed. The Edmonton Oilers seems like they're on the cusp of acquiring center Jason Dickinson and another piece in exchange for Andrew Mangiapane and a conditional draft pick. Now, again, this is all pending. It is not confirmed. Another piece is another piece. We don't know if that's a first, a second, a third, a fourth, or another prospect that's not all too significant. But at the end of the day, Jason Dickinson, pending a trade over to the Edmonton Oilers. This is a pretty big move, and it's one that I actually like a lot for Edmonton. Jason Dickinson is a 30-year-old, 6'2", 201-pound left-handed center left wing, signed on till the end of this season, making $4.25 million a year. Dickinson was always a reasonably good middle to bottom six center, and he was able to display most of his value the past few years here in Chicago. He was seen as a very versatile and reliable penalty-killing option in Dallas. He ended up signing with the Vancouver Canucks in 21-22, getting 11 points in 62 games played over there. Just a terrible year, to be honest. He didn't have a good season with Vancouver. We all recognized that there was some value that he brought, which is why Canucks fans were initially lenient to him. But the Canucks weren't really all too great. Dickinson himself didn't have a good season. And so the Canucks, if I recall correctly, they had to trade away a pick in order to get rid of this guy. Is that correct? Jason Dickinson and a third or whatever? Jason Dickinson and a second for Riley Stillman, the worst Vancouver Canucks defenseman of the past 20 years, Riley Stillman. What an absolute bogus trade. Nevertheless, Dickinson proved much more useful to the Chicago Blackhawks, posting back-to-back 30-point seasons in his first 2 years over there, including a 22-goal season out of nowhere. This year, he's got 13 points in 47 games played, on pace for about 19 points over 68 games. So maybe he isn't as productive as he once was, but Jason Dickinson is 30 years old. He's a seasoned vet. He's a penalty-killing, face-off winning, defensively minded center who was able to produce somewhat over the past few years in Chicago. And heading over to Edmonton, this is the kind of piece that their middle to bottom six could definitely use. We were just talking in the previous video about how the Oilers could have benefited from a guy like Connor Brown sticking around in their organization. Well, Jason Dickinson provides almost everything you could have wanted out of Connor Brown, except you're giving away Mangiapane and a conditional draft pick to get that done. Speaking about Andrew Mangiapane, things have really not looked good for him in Edmonton this season. We have recognized Mangiapane as a very versatile player from his days in Calgary and Washington. Yes, he did have some productive years in the past. His 21-22 saw him put up 55 points and 35 goals. And during his days with Team Canada at the World Championships, Mangiapane was just a goal-scoring machine. He would drive to the net, cut to the forehand, and score goals like clockwork in that similar fashion in those days. But inevitably, he found himself in Washington, had a 14-goal, 14-assist, 28-point season last year, before finding himself in Edmonton and not really doing all too well. A -19, 14 points, 52 games, and then he got sent down to Bakersfield, his first stint in the AHL in 7 years. So for Mangiapane, 29 years old, signed on till the end of 2028, making $3.6 million a year. Obviously, it was kind of a slap in the face to be put in that position. He cleared waivers already, so you can say that there is value that Chicago is getting here out of the waiver-free Mangiapane, but really, you're going to take a look at this guy and you're going to see him probably be used in a primary role in Chicago. That's just not something that the Edmonton Oilers would have been able to give Mangiapane in the first place. So from a needs perspective, I can totally understand why the Oilers are going out there and making this trade. Jason Dickinson adds a level of playoff depth and sustainability to their middle to bottom six, a level that Andrew Mangiapane just was not able to provide with his services and his style of play on Edmonton. Meanwhile, Chicago was getting themselves a guy that they could probably use over the next few years. Mangiapane is a good leader. He'll be able to play with pace. I'd say that, honestly, Mangiapane mentoring a guy like Oliver Moore, for example, it seems like a really perfect fit in my eyes. Like, when I think Oliver Moore, when I think the best case scenario out of his game, Mangiapane ain't too far off. From the kinds of goals that Mangiapane was able to score in his prime to the intensity and the tenacity that he plays with, I do think that Oliver Moore could learn a thing or two from playing with a guy like Andrew Mangiapane. That's just one of their guys, too, right? Frank Nazar, you can talk about him. Connor Bedard, of course. There's a lot to like out of the youth in Chicago, and getting a guy like Mangiapane as well as a draft pick certainly seems like a profitable move for the Chicago Blackhawks. At the end of the day, though, we'll have to wait and see what this other piece looks like, what the conditional pick is. I'm just here refreshing everything because it looks like we are just sitting and waiting for the actual trade of Mackenzie Weegar. Okay, this looks like it could be the framework. We might have to double time record another video over here. At least wait until the prospect and the 3 picks are announced. But with all that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Jason Dickinson trade. Here is another piece of info from Darren Dreger and Pierre LeBrun. The Blackhawks would be retaining 50% on Dickinson in this trade. There is also another player going to Edmonton. The Blackhawks would get Mangiapane and a first-round pick in 2027. That's protected. That's a crazy good deal for Chicago. Oh my goodness, Mangiapane and a protected first-round pick for Dickinson and another player? Who is this other player going to be? Oh my goodness. That's my immediate reaction upon seeing the draft pick itself. Oh my gosh. I take it all back. That's ridiculous, man. If Edmonton is going true balls to the wall here, they do not care about Connor McDavid after his contract expires. They don't really have any plans to do much outside of 2027, 2028. Then okay, that makes sense. But trading away a first-round pick and Mangiapane for Dickinson, that really just goes to show that this team is in win-now mode. They are desperate to get their results this year or next. They don't care about what happens after McDavid's contract expires. They just want to make sure they get themselves some hardware while McDavid is still on the team. So I think that's really the only way you can analyze this trade, now knowing that it's a first-round pick going over the opposite way to Chicago. What amazing work there by the Blackhawks and their overall management staff. Holy overpay for a first-round pick, eh? We all thought that, they traded away a second-round pick for Connor Murphy. That's great. They still have their first. They traded away a first for Dickinson. Ay. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this trade. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.